I seek in my work to look beyond the seemingly omnipotent state and focus on how non-elite Russians perceive themselves, the world around them, and the society they lived in. My name is Laurie Manchester. I am a historian of Russia in the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries. The other main theme is that I'm interested in how marginalized groups within Russia were able to form at times alternative cultures, and how in times of crisis, such as revolution, those alternative cultures had a significant impact on the society in which they lived. I first became interested in Russia when I was a teenager. I loved to read fiction, the great Russian writers, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Turgenev, and I thought, wow, I really need to learn the language. I was afraid to learn the language because I'm not very good at learning foreign languages, but I was absolutely determined. What really helped me was I went to Middlebury College's famous intensive Russian language school. And for 9 weeks, you are forbidden to speak any English. The teacher would have a water pistol. He would yell out a noun, and you had to decline it. And if you got it wrong, he would shoot you in the face with a water pistol. It was sort of the only way to instill in us the kind of automatic sense that a native speaker has. I remember getting there and just being like, everybody spoke Russian there, and all the signs were in Russian. I was like a kid in a candy store. When I went to graduate school in the fall of 1986, Russian Orthodox churches in the city sort of stood out. So in my first graduate seminar, I decided to study the Russian Orthodox clergy because I had these lingering images of these Moscow churches in the back of my mind. As I read these priests' memoirs, I was also reading some priests' sons' memoirs. Some had become revolutionaries, some had become writers, artists, professionals. I also saw that they were very anti-Russian noble. They had a very different view of the world than all of these noble writers that I had read in high school. So that is how I came up with the topic of my first book, which is how clergymen's sons saw themselves as an alternative intelligentsia, and that because they had grown up in villages and they came from an educated but very modest economic background, they saw themselves as the real Russians in opposition to the nobility. I'm currently writing a book about Russians who lived in China, who then decided, a couple of decades later, to voluntarily return to the Soviet Union. I was really interested in Russian national identity. And that got me interested in looking at Russians abroad, because I figured when you've migrated abroad and you come in contact with people from other nationalities, that's when you really have to work on deciding what does it mean to be Russian. So in 2012, I went to Russia, and for the next 5 years, went every year, and I've now interviewed over 80 of these repatriates from China, and this has taken me all over Russia to cities I've always wanted to go to. I think that it has enriched my life because it has broadened my insights into how I live my life at home, into the foods that I eat, into how I dress. It's such a part of my identity, and it's one of the reasons I really can't imagine doing anything else. I see my role as being a cultural ambassador. I see this as extremely important because now Russia is once again our enemy, and often the only image Americans have of Russia is a 60-second simplistic soundbite.
Вижу пламя